Dayton, Kentucky, and for one of our own native sons, Private First Class Edward H Ahrens, U.S. Marine Corps. Edward was born 100 years ago in 1919, the oldest son of Albert and Marie Ahrens of 224 2nd Street. He graduated from Dayton High School, and like so many Dayton residents, he worked at Wadsworth Watch Company. On February 3rd, 1942, just 7 weeks after Pearl Harbor, Ahrens voluntarily enlisted in the U.S. Marines. He shipped out to basic training at Parris Island, South Carolina, where due to his physical skills, he was assigned to the elite 1st Marine Raider Battalion, Fleet Marine Force. These Raiders were the first special operations units in the Marines. In May 1942, the Marine Force was shipped halfway around the world to New Zealand to prepare for Operation Watchtower, the first U.S. invasion of Japanese-held territory. On the morning of August 7, 1942, in tandem with the invasion of nearby Guadalcanal, the 1st Raider Battalion went ashore in the invasion of the island of Tulagi. This was the first engagement that American troops had with Japanese defensive methods of tunnels, booby traps, and Japanese resistance was fierce throughout the day. When darkness fell that evening, Private Ahrens and Company A dug in to guard the battalion's right flank. During that night, the Marines repeatedly fought back waves of suicidal Japanese banzai attacks, often in hand-to-hand combat. The next morning, August 8, 1942, Private Ahrens was found in a foxhole. He was alive but mortally wounded, with 13 dead Japanese soldiers and officers around him. His last words to his commander before dying in his arms were, "They just kept on coming, but I guess they didn't know I was a Marine." Private First Class Edward H. Ahrens was the first Dayton, Kentucky resident killed in World War II. For his valiant efforts protecting his battalion, President Franklin D. Roosevelt posthumously awarded him the Navy Cross for, quote, his extraordinary heroism and devotion to duty. He gallantly gave his life in the defense of his country. In December 1943, his Gold Star mother, Marie Ahrens, christened the new U.S. Navy destroyer escort DE-575 in her son's name. The USS Edward H. Ahrens went on to serve in both the Atlantic and Pacific theaters during and after the war. Another Dayton resident, Robert Pendry, was a draftsman for the U.S. Navy designing warships. After World War II ended, he requested the blueprints for the Ahrens from the U.S. Navy, and he painstakingly hand-built a detailed large-scale model of the ship. His two sons, Roger and Richard, both served in the U.S. Navy during the Vietnam era. Today, Mr. Pendry's niece, Ellen Staverman, and the family are graciously donating that model of destroyer escort DE-575 USS Edward H. Ahrens from his estate to be put on permanent and public display in our Dayton Heritage Museum. On behalf of the museum, represented by Jane Hebel and Elmer Perry, and on behalf of all the citizens of Dayton, Kentucky, we want to thank Mr. Pendry's family for sharing this meaningful tribute with us. Let this memorial display be a reminder to all of us, for generations to come, that we must be eternally grateful that Private First Class Edward H. Ahrens and too many others made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our country. Greater love has no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friends. Thank you.